Hi and a very warm welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be chatting to you about slugs. So these slugs like to eat usually small plants, but they will eat anything. They're particularly fond of delphiniums or sweet peas, so I'm growing sweet peas and I wanted to try out a few different methods to see which ones actually worked the best. So I set up a little trial. I had planted all my sweet peas in a row and then I treated them with different methods for slug prevention. So I'm going to just go through the different methods that I used and then we can have a look and see how we got on. So first things first is, I just use slug pellets. So a lot of people don't like these because they are not very good if you've got pets or children, because they're obviously harmful and they're not organic either. So that is an option and seems to work well, but obviously not so good on a safety point of view. I also tried using some potting grit. So this is just like almost like a sharp sand. I don't know if you can see it there. So I just piled that up around the plant, and actually the slugs don't like to go across it because it's hard, so that stops them from going across there. The next thing I used was an old plastic bottle that I literally just cut the tape off like that, and then I just cut into one of these to make like a collar. So really simple, and most people have got a plastic bottle around, and just sat the plant sort of in growing through there. So it just offers a bit of extra protection against the slugs, just a bit of a barrier. There's a couple of other things that I've also used on where I've got pots. I've put copper tape around. The slugs don't like to go across the copper tape, so that stops them as well. And then the other thing I'm going to look at is this slug, which is a biological control, so it's all organic. So if you're into organic gardening, this is a really great one to try. I have got a couple of beer traps. I'm not sure how successful they are down by my hostas, because they do like to munch on hostas as well. So yeah, we'll go and have a look around the garden and see how we're getting on now. These are the slug pellets that I said about. So the way these work is they need to be spread all around the plant, so there's no gaps. And the way they work is the slugs go across them, go onto the blue pellet, and then basically it kills them. So if you are an animal lover, even of slugs, then this probably isn't the option for you. Or like I said, if you have small children or pets, because they are not particularly good for little people or animals to ingest. But they seem to be working quite well. The sweet peas seem to be getting on all right, and yeah, so they're quite a good option. The next option that you can see there is the collar. Now actually that plant looks a lot healthier, but I think that could just be due to its location rather than anything else. So the collars seem to be working as quite a good deterrent as well. And then if we go along the line, you've got another slug pellet one, another collar, and then we get to the pea shingle. Now that plant there looks pretty unhealthy actually, but I think that's probably more to do with the plant than anything else, because if we continue along, that's the pea shingle one, or horticultural grit as they say, and that looks really, really healthy. And that one there is probably my most healthy plant, and that's got the horticultural grit around it. So if you prefer an organic option, then I definitely think the horticultural grit seems to be working, and the collars seem to be doing quite a good job as well. So in those trials, I'd say all successful. The next method then is the copper slug tape. So this works by the fact that the slugs don't like going across the copper for some reason, and it's also got this serrated edge. So if you put that down, that will deter them from going up. So it's really good if you're planting things in pots that they might like to eat. Obviously not so good if you're planting straight into the ground, but I think it's worked really, really well. Nothing's got eaten yet. Shouldn't say that, I suppose, but so far. And actually I think it looks quite pretty. It adds a nice sort of rose gold touch to your pot. So yeah, so that one gets a thumbs up from me as well. Right, so this is one of the beer traps that I created last year, and I put it right deliberately next to my hostas because the slugs love these. As you can see, they're getting a little bit munched. But basically I just used an old bottle. Let's see if I can pull that out actually. And I cut the top off and put the top upside down in the bottom, and then I just attach them together with a bit of wire. So basically what that does, and you can pour beer in, and what happens is the slugs smell the beer and they go in, but they can't get back out because the neck is too small, and obviously it's straight-sided. So you literally just dig a little hole, sit that in there, and then because obviously plastic bottle doesn't look particularly attractive, you then can just cover it. I just used some old roof tiles that I found, and you literally just cover it like that. It needs to go a bit deeper into the ground actually, so the slugs can actually get in. And you make a nice little dark hole, hidey hole for them, so they'll think, oh nice, somewhere wet and warm to sit and hide, and you just balance them over like that, so they go in there thinking, oh what's that nice smell, and they'll fall in there and get trapped. Again, they will die, so not such a good one if you are a slug lover, but let's face it, who is? So this is something that I've not tried before, but a good friend of mine, Anna, used it last year and had really good success with it. It only lasts for 6 weeks, but depending, if you time it well, then you could buy a couple of these and do them over, do one lot, wait for 6 weeks and then do another lot. The one thing I would say is they are live, so when they come you need to keep them in the fridge, which some people find a bit gross. But yeah, so you keep them in the fridge and you need to use them by use by date. So this pack has got a use by date of the 18th of June. So for example, you wouldn't want to order 2 packs at once, because by the time your 6 weeks have passed, the use by date would have gone as well. So I'd advise ordering 1 pack, see how you get on with it. So basically the instructions are really, really easy. They're on the back. You basically have to just pop these into a bucket of water to make like a stock solution, and then you dilute that down, and then you can put it into your watering can to sprinkle onto the ground. And you should apply this wherever you think you might get slugs. So I'm hoping 40 metres squared should probably do most of my borders where I've got plants that are tender and that I need to look after. So I'm hoping that that will be enough. And basically what happens is the nematodes that are in here are bad for the slugs, so the slugs will ingest them and then die basically. So again, if you like the slugs or you feel bad for the slugs, then not an option for you, but really good if you've got a large area to cover, and again it is organic, so you're not introducing any sort of chemicals onto your garden. What I've done here is use my watering can to measure out 4 litres of water, which is what it says you should put it into. So I'm literally just going to tip that into this bucket. And then going to, this is what they look like inside. So I'm just going to dissolve that whole lot into the bucket. If I can get it open. It's a bit stinky. I'm going to rinse this packet in as well, because I want to get the most out of what I've paid for. Okay, so everything's swilling around in there. Apparently I have to stir vigorously, so what am I going to use to do that? Handy lolly stick. Told you they come in handy for lots. It looks pretty gross to be honest, but hey, if it keeps the slugs away, can't really complain. And then I'm to take half a litre of this solution and add it to a 5 litre watering can fitted with a very coarse rose and fill with water. So let's give that a go. Could end in disaster. 1/2 litre. I'm just going to top this up now to 5 litres with water and then attach my rose, and then we are ready to start sprinkling on the garden. Now there are a few conditions to putting these nematodes down so you get the best results. So first of all is avoid in bright sunlight. Well, it's pretty murky, in fact it's trying to rain, so that's good. It says you should apply in the evenings or in dull conditions. Well, I think we tick that box. Ideally apply during rainfall. Well, I think it's probably going to rain in a little bit, so that's quite good. It says the soil or the compost must be moist before and for at least 2 weeks after application. Now this soil is moist because I put the soaker hose on it last night. I will have to keep an eye on that though to make sure that over the next couple of weeks it stays moist, so I might have to do a bit more soaking, and then hopefully we will have protection for 6 weeks. So let's start sprinkling now. So I'm going to do there first, but I'm also going to do all of the ground around it as well. In a more established bed you do want to make sure that the nematodes actually get onto the soil rather than onto your plants, so don't water onto the plants and just go around all the gaps where you can to make sure they get onto the soil, because that's where they're going to live and then ultimately do their business. Thanks for watching my video on slug prevention methods. I think in reality all of the methods seem to work, so it's just a personal preference and how much money you want to spend. From the very sort of free and easy options of cutting up the bottles to the slightly more expensive nematode application. I don't know the results of the nematodes yet. I'm kind of adding them as an extra, so I've put the initial methods down and then I'm hoping the nematodes will just top off any slugs that are just hanging around. If you're planting in pots, then I think probably the best method is the copper tape, and it does look nice as well. But on the ground, I think, to be honest, it's completely personal preference and dependent on your home situation, and whether you want to do organic gardening or not. But the potting, the horticultural grit is quite a nice idea, and it looks quite nice as well, so probably a bit nicer than a plastic bottle, but it depends what you're going for. So make sure you choose whichever one is right for you. I will do an update on my Instagram about the nematodes and how I get on with those. But until next time, then yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's given you some ideas to try. And if you have enjoyed the video, then please do give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to know more about gardening and floristry and gardening tips, then please subscribe to the channel, and there'll be lots more where this came from. Okay, thanks. Bye.